Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Matt Wizeman, and I am a Focal Point Business Leadership Coach. Joining me are my co-hosts, Gina Tabasso, founder of Barracuda B2B Marketing, and Rich Bello, strategic partner with Schooley Mitchell. Today, we're going to be discussing the importance of investing in your business and preparing it for an economic upturn when things are maybe not so favorable, rather than holding back and waiting for the storm to pass. So today, the importance of investing in your business during a downturn is really key. And we'll provide some high-level insights on that, so that you can position your business for growth in the upturn. Rich and I will both discuss ways to identify cost savings in your business, and then I will present some ideas about how you can invest that money you have saved to move your business forward. I'll also present some ways to bring in additional funding into your business, and then I'll turn things over to Gina, where she'll talk about really making your marketing effective to bring more business in and finding your ideal clients. So conflicting economic information and the typical uncertainty about how policies will change during an election year lead a lot of companies to decide to hold back and wait on making investments, when really what studies have shown is that the companies that take action during those times of uncertainty and times of recessions are the ones that do best when conditions change for the better. And so we'll discuss a number of ways during this presentation as to how you make those same moves. So again, my name is Matt Wizeman, and I am a certified Focal Point Business Leadership Coach. I help my clients take a very strategic approach to advancing their business, differentiating and elevating their companies relative to their competitors, so they can reach more of their ideal clients.
And I'm Gina Tabasso. I am the founder of Barracuda B2B Marketing. I do marketing strategy and implementation primarily with manufacturing, industrial, supply chain, and distribution companies. I have a Lean Six Sigma background as well as welding and machining. And so I am uniquely positioned as a marketer in the manufacturing space to understand the industry and my clients' challenges.
And I'm Rich Bello with Schooley Mitchell, strategic partner with Schooley Mitchell, which essentially means franchisee. Schooley Mitchell is a franchise. And I've owned my franchise for about 1.5 years now. And coming from a background in the sports industry, in sales and marketing, I'm learning more and more about the manufacturing industry through my practice at Schooley Mitchell and how what we do in terms of cost reduction analysis is really pivotal, and it's really effective for manufacturers. And through various networking opportunities, I've been able to come across Matt and Gina and been able to learn from their expertise in the industry and continuing to learn more and more about it as I proceed with my practice at Schooley Mitchell. So as Matt had indicated earlier, we want to talk about ways that as manufacturers, you can be aggressive and you can prepare for the upturn in the economy during these times of uncertainty. But one of the ways that would make sense to make those types of investments and to be prepared for the upturn is by finding ways internally to reduce your costs and find that funding via your own internal budget, and finding ways to make it more efficient so that those funds can present themselves. One of the things that I've learned throughout my experience in the sports industry and now with Schooley Mitchell and any industry that I've worked with is that any budget is really going to be, I make the analogy of it being kind of like a recipe. in the sense that you're trying to figure out exactly how to get the perfect balance of your different ingredients. And those ingredients are your different expenditures that you need to make, and you want to find the right balance that's going to lead to the most efficient company. We know that if we had our druthers, if pie in the sky view, if we were able to have anything that we wanted, we would have limitless options. There's numerous different materials or service providers that we could potentially use, that a lot of them do similar things. Some do a little differently. Some do it really well. Some do it not so great. So clearly we wouldn't want to use those. But the point here is that there's lots of decisions that we have to make when we're putting together a budget. And the fact of the matter is we don't have those limitless budgets. We don't have the opportunity to use everything and anything. We have to make difficult decisions, and we have to make sound financial decisions in order to have a budget that makes sense and will allow our companies to run effectively. So I use the term in here, non-monotone objective function, which kind of is a little fancy statistical term that we use at Schooley Mitchell. Essentially what it means is that every decision that you make with your budget, it's not going to lead to the same results. Like if you add a little bit in this area of your budget, it's not necessarily going to result in higher efficiency. Or if you take away in a certain area, it's not necessarily going to result in lower efficiency. So you're continually trying to find that balance, which is why I compared it to a recipe. Everyone's going to have different tastes, but you know that there isn't a perfect balance that's out there. You're just trying to make the best of it with the different decisions that you have. And the other part of that too is, even if you do find that quote unquote recipe that tastes great and it has your business running efficiently, things can change very quickly, whether it be the market, whether it be something in the economy, whether it be some sort of legislation, whether it be some sort of strike. You're going to have to make new decisions pretty quickly. So it's never a situation where you get it and you have your budget down pat and you'll never have to look at it again. It's continuous decisions that you need to make sure that you're optimized at all times. So I was speaking on the last slide kind of generally with regards to different types of industries, but I think specifically for manufacturing, we know there are different challenges that we have to face in this industry, and there need to be difficult decisions that are made in order to make that budget as efficient as possible. And one of the things that we know for certain is certain options or certain decisions that we need to make, or not decisions that we need to make, but things that are influencing our decision-making process are outside of our control, whether it be the economy, whether it be the workforce, whether it be legislation or strikes or any number of things, whether, like Matt said earlier, a presidential election year. Those are types of things that there's not much we can do about. We just have to plan around them and account for them. The things that we can control, which are our costs, our internal costs, our indirect costs, those are the ones that we have to keep the closest eye on to try and ensure our efficiency as best as we can. Look at some of the pain points. I just talked about them. We have supply chain issues that are difficult for us to control, the labor, the supply and demand, the economy. But this fourth one here, cost management, like I mentioned earlier, that's the one that we actually have an opportunity to make sound decisions in and control our budget in terms of those costs. So internal cost procurement, that's a term that we like to use at Schooley Mitchell. That's where we're making sure that we hold the power, so to speak, or we have the advantage when we're deciding the vendors that we're going to use for the different costs and services that we need to run our business. So in other words, we're not relying on the vendors to dictate the process and to tell us what the price is and to have us just go along with that and make it as though there's nothing that can be done about it. We want to have the opportunity to drive this process and make decisions from a standpoint of negotiating power. And sometimes what happens when you have a supplier, whether that be a vendor that's performing service or providing supplies, if you have a good relationship and they've done a good job, it's easiest to continue on with that relationship, not ruffle feathers, not try and do anything that's going to result in any type of uneasiness amongst us as a company and that vendor. But just because the relationship is good and the service is good, it doesn't mean that we can't still see what else is out there in the marketplace. And that's where we get to proactive vendor communications. And that doesn't mean that you're always looking to switch your service providers or that you are unhappy in any way with your current provider. It just means that you're fielding other offers or other proposals that various companies can make. Maybe new companies are coming into the space. Just having that information and that knowledge of what else is out there puts us in that position of negotiating power that I mentioned earlier. When we do come back to our current vendors and say, hey, look, we're very happy with the service that we're getting from you guys, but we know that another service provider is out there that is also providing good service. We've spoken to our friends in the industry that are using these guys. They're doing a good job and they're providing a better price. So is there anything we could do in our relationship to get to a price that's a little bit more comparable and will allow us to have a little bit more ease in our budget to do the types of things that we want to do? So those types of conversations are really what constitutes internal cost procurement. When we talk about a cost procurement plan, this is where we just want to make sure that the rates that we've gotten from the conversations that I mentioned on the previous slide are the ones that are actually being implemented, and we're getting what we had negotiated from the vendors. So this is essentially keeping track, like I said, of the different costs and your different expenditures. We already talked about the conversations with the suppliers that are going to get us to those better costs. And then when you have those types of agreements that you negotiated in place with the vendors, that allows you to set more accurate budgets because you don't have to worry about price creep or prices going up out of the blue when you weren't expecting it from the vendor. When you have deals in place that you've negotiated, you're able to keep those budgets in line. You're able to project what they should be based on what your projected output will be. And of course, we know that the market could change. Our demand could go up. We might need to produce more, but at least you'll know what your rates are if you do have to alter what your projected production was going to be. And this is something at Schooley Mitchell, and I know everything I just described seems like a lot of work and a lot of time that you probably don't have and no one at your company has. This is something that we do at Schooley Mitchell for our clients so that they don't have to worry about it. And we just present to them our findings from doing this type of analysis on behalf of our clients. So this is, like I said earlier, what we could do internally to try and create some budget room in terms of cost reduction. But there's also other ways to do it that Matt is going to get to outside of our vendor relationships and our suppliers.
Thanks, Rich. So as Rich talked about, there's cost savings to be found through negotiating potentially better agreements with your suppliers and outside services. And there's also internal ways. And during maybe a production, slower time in production, you can take some of your internal resources and reallocate them towards making some of those investments. Whatever you do decide to do with regard to internal investments, make sure you're making them in line with a overall business strategy that is right for your business, so that you're making the most effective investments that you can. So I'll go through a few ideas here. Consider investing in Lean and Six Sigma. If you're not familiar with Lean and Six Sigma, then there's many third-party consultants that can assist you with implementing those practices. But if you are familiar with them and you've used them in your business, take a look at the investments you've made. Have some of those departments or areas of your business where you have applied Lean and Six Sigma, have they maybe gone adrift a little bit and they need a refresh? Or perhaps look at other areas within your business that you've not applied Lean or Six Sigma to, and find out how they could benefit, and how those applying those practices in those areas could provide additional cost savings within your business. Consider outsourcing non-core activities. I worked at a company years ago that decided to outsource all of their sub-assembly work to third-party contract manufacturers. And the result was that they opened up more bandwidth within their internal production, but they also improved the overall quality of their product. They were able to focus on their core competencies of final assembly and test, and overall, again, opened up additional bandwidth in production. We'll talk about dealing with bad customers. Those customers that spend the most money with you are not necessarily really great customers. It could be that they also, those customers are also the ones that put the most demand on your business and suck up a lot of your resources. So consider what metrics are really the most important to your business from a customer standpoint. Rate your customers based on those metrics, and then try to figure out what makes those customers, score highly with regard to those metrics. What is it about those customers that makes them really good for your business? And Gina will talk about, how you go and acquire more of those customers a little later on in this presentation. Take a look at your underperforming employees. Not only do they, not meet their own responsibilities, not fulfill their own responsibilities, but they also put a drag on your culture. And I can almost guarantee that the other employees in your business are aware of those who are underperforming, and they're not happy about it. Get with an HR representative. Have some one-to-one meetings with the employee in question. Set a performance improvement plan, document a timeline for them to get things back on track. And, the outcome is going to be that the performance of your business will improve, the culture will improve, and your other employees will thank you. Bad suppliers. It always amazes me how so many companies seem to tolerate their bad suppliers, but the reality is bad suppliers, like underperforming employees, put a huge energy drain on your business. Again, get with those suppliers, set expectations, establish a corrective action plan, and then in the meanwhile, look for alternative suppliers. Just in case things don't go well with your primary suppliers, you'll have backup options. And I guarantee that if you just allow those bad suppliers to linger, the problem is more than likely only going to get worse. It's very rare that those situations will improve themselves on their own. So again, Rich provided some ways to reduce cost in your business. I've just provided a few ideas. Now let's talk about turning those cost savings into investment opportunities to improve your business. There are a number of ways to go about it, but provide a few here. Take a look at your outdated or failing production equipment. I worked for a company many years ago that they thought the only way they were going to grow their business and improve their sales was to invest primarily in the sales department. And that left other departments heavily neglected, especially in production. And specific to this area of investment, they had a production equipment on their floor that predated the Great Depression, and the equipment was constantly going down. It caused quality issues with their end products, and rather than replace these pieces of equipment, they just lived with it. They just dealt with the downtime and having to actually fabricate their own replacement parts because the manufacturers didn't exist anymore. They just kind of accepted that as the way things were. Don't feel like that's like that company. Take a look at your production equipment, see what's causing bottlenecks, what's holding you back, and address it with newer, updated equipment. Take a look at your facility. If you are maybe a little hesitant to bring customers on site for meetings, then maybe it's time for some refurbishment, a fresh coat of paint. Have you actually outgrown your facility? Are you, have you used up every square inch of space? You've got employees practically, sitting on top of one another. Maybe it's time to expand or consider relocating your facility to a larger building. Take a look at your employee skill set. Are they ready for where you want your business to go in the next 3 to 5 years, or at the very least when the next upturn comes? Again, get with an HR representative, assess the skills gaps of your employees, and either come up with some internal training programs or look to third parties that can bring some training on site that'll help close those gaps. And the last area of potential investment that I'll talk about is Industry 4.0 or 4IR. If you're not familiar with these terms, then please go look them up. There's lots of good information out there. But essentially, Industry 4.0 refers to the emergence of a fourth industrial revolution through the convergence of automation, data analytics, IoT connectivity, machine learning, and generative AI. And so while all of these technologies may not be right for your business, it's highly likely that at least one of them will have a significant impact on what you do. And so I highly encourage everyone to go investigate these technologies and Industry 4.0, and consider, again, reaching out to a consultant who can help you out with some implementation. So again, Rich talked about cost savings. I talked about cost savings, and then I talked about where you can invest these newfound funds. But you're probably also thinking that a lot of these investments that I've talked about will require more funding than just what you can find internally. So on the next couple of slides, I'll present some additional options. Won't go through all of these, but I just present them here as examples of sources of funds that are available out there. Encourage everybody to go look at options at the federal, state, and local level. There's plenty of programs out there that will fund exactly the things that I've talked about: employee training, updates to facilities, production equipment acquisition. Take a look at your state manufacturing extension program website, your state Department of Economic Development, U.S. Small Business Administration, and grants.gov. Those are all websites that have lots of information about free or nearly free funds that you can apply for funding all of the different things that I've talked about here. And then finally, I'd like to thank my friends at Northfield Bank for providing the information on this slide. Again, I encourage everyone to go talk with your local lender about what financing options may be available to your business for funding exactly some of the things we've talked about here. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Gina of Barracuda B2B Marketing, who's going to talk about how to maximize your marketing effectiveness to gain maximum results. Gina?
Last but not least, I really enjoyed listening to both of you. I loved Rich's analogy of a recipe, budget being like a recipe. And Matt spoke to so many things that I've experienced in my career in manufacturing. I have a Lean Six Sigma green belt, and I'm working on my black belt now, and I partner with a master black belt. So when he had mentioned how master black belts, we can come into facilities, and my master black belt has saved people millions of dollars. So it really is a good methodology to apply. And I apply it to my marketing process, because marketing is a process, just like a process on a plant floor. And so how do you reduce variation, decrease waste, improve quality, improve processes? So today I want to talk about feeding your marketing funnel, and why I love partnering with Rich and Matt. They have this perspective of how you free up capital you didn't know you were losing to reinvest into your business, to reinvest into making your business money. And that's usually the sales, the rev ops, the marketing, the fractionals that can constantly fill your funnel and convert leads to bring more revenue into your business. So I want to talk about how to do that, how to feed your marketing funnel. Historically in manufacturing, I have seen that a lot of manufacturers either are not doing marketing, don't see the value of marketing, or aren't doing marketing right because they may not have the expertise in-house, or they may even be misguided by an agency. A lot of agencies offer a cookie cutter out of the box approach. They don't understand the industry. They don't understand SWOT analysis and all the challenges that manufacturers face. So a lot of times I find that manufacturers also tend to be sell organizations. They're focused on that bottom of funnel, sell, sell, sell. And then what inevitably happens is that bottom of funnel taps out, and there's no more leads, no more cash flow. And then that panic ensues, where we need to fill our funnel, we need to get leads, we need to convert them. So I tell people marketing is a long game. It is not a short game. It's not sales, it's relationships. It is building relationships and nurturing them to the point of conversion. So Lean Six Sigma is something that I apply to my marketing methodology, and it really can revolutionize yours when you focus on process improvement. So how do we do that? If you're familiar with Lean Six Sigma, great. If you're not, then this slide tells you a little bit about what it is. It basically eliminates waste, avoids rework, improves efficiency. And so you can take those principles that are founded on customer focus, on data, and on process optimization, and you can apply those to your marketing strategy to enhance your efficiency and achieve better results. So Lean Six Sigma, people who don't understand it, or it sounds overwhelming or confusing, I like to distill it down to an oversimplified example that doesn't include the data, the charts, all of the complexities of Six Sigma. But once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you take it home with you. So I took it home with me, and I have 2 kittens, and every day I go to feed them their dry food. And what I used to do is I would go pick up the bowl from the floor, take it to the counter, go to the closet, get out the bag of cat food, take it to the counter, fill the bowl, take the bowl back to the floor where I keep my bowls, go back to the counter, get the bag of food, and go back and put it in the closet. Seems simple, right? That's what everybody does. Well, one day it dawned on me, oh my gosh, that is so efficient. Look at all the steps and the time you're wasting back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Just take the bowl to the closet and fill it from the bag, or take the bag to the bowl and fill the bowl from the bag. And this is exactly what happens in manufacturing. back and forth, take it here, take it there, put it there. And people often need to improve their process lines. They need to improve their plant mapping and their plant layout. Matt was speaking about if you're out of room and you need to expand. He also talked about your MEP, your manufacturing extension partnership. I worked for mine in Ohio for 2 years, and I had a client who I was doing a marketing project for, and our ops guy at our MEP came in and did a plant layout project for them. They were busting at the seams, out of space, had no more room. They were going to develop a new product line. They were looking to buy another building. He went in and reconfigured their plant floor. When I went back down there, it was so empty. I was like, where did all your equipment go? What is all this empty space? He's like, believe it or not, just with a plant mapping project, we freed up all that space. We don't need another building. So Lean Six Sigma can do a lot with a lot of processes. So how do we apply it to marketing? That's the key question. I use an acronym that is an integral part of Lean Six Sigma called DMAIC. And you see the 5 letters here, what they mean. The D is define, M is measure, A is analyze, I is improve, and C is control. So you use DMAIC in manufacturing, and in Lean Six Sigma, you can also use it in marketing. You can use it in a process at home. What's the scope of your project? What are your goals? What are your KPIs? You then track and analyze your data. Then when you look at your data, you try to understand what is the root cause of the problem. What is the opportunity? How can you improve that process? Then you go on to improve it. And a lot of times people stop at that step. They're like, we improved the process. It's all good. It's fixed. Great. Let's move on to the next project. But that's when things fall apart. You have to do that last step over and over and over. Continue to control that process. Make sure that it remains optimized. And I talked to Matt and Rich about this once. I said, it's almost analogous to New Year's resolutions. And we decide we're going to go to the gym and we're going to go on a diet and lose weight. So we define our problem. We figure out how to identify and measure that problem. We decide we're going to improve that problem. But then all of a sudden we don't control the problem and we fall off the wagon because we're not continuing to monitor and ensure effectiveness and optimization. So that's DMAIC and how you can use it in marketing. So Lean and Six Sigma are 2 different methodologies, and when combined, they're more powerful than they are separate. So, one is about improving efficiencies and processes. The other is about eliminating waste. So in marketing and in any process, in your house, in your plant floor, there are 4 kinds of wastes. You see them in front of you. And like with my example about feeding my kitten, I wasted time and I needed to streamline my process. But these are the 4 ways that you can eliminate waste in marketing by applying these measures and being able to control your marketing process more effectively. So as I said before, marketing is a long game. It is not overnight. It's not desperation. It's not a Hail Mary. It's also not it's not a cost center. A lot of times manufacturers see it as a cost center rather than a revenue generator. And again, it's because a lot of times companies take a scattershot approach. They are just throwing money at the wall, hoping it sticks. Let's try this. Let's try this. This didn't work. Let's do this instead. Our agency's not working. Let's fire them. Let's get another one. And it's because it's not sustainable. It has to be based on a strong foundation, a strategy. I give this example. I love storytelling and examples. So would you go to bed tonight and dream up a product you wanted to manufacture and go on your shop floor and start making it tomorrow? No, you are setting yourself up for failure. You would put the people, the processes, the pricing, the research, everything in place to make sure that you succeed with that product. Same thing with manufacturing. It applies to marketing. Why would you go to the end of the process? Let's go do lead generation. But we haven't done all the foundational work to build up to that point to ensure success. So when you're doing sustainable marketing, you're always looking at data, making decisions based on data, constantly improving, collaborating, communicating, and finally, customer focus. Lean Six Sigma is focused on the customer, always. All of the outcomes should improve things for the customer and increase their satisfaction. And marketing really is about the customer. It's about their journey, their decisions, their choices, their pain points, and how do we solve those for them? So let's focus on those customers. Rich and Matt both alluded to the issues facing manufacturing right now. I mean, manufacturing is in a recession. It's an election year and there's high inflation. And that's, the elephant in the room. And a lot of times when that happens, people cut their marketing budgets. And that's the greatest mistake they can make, because they then are behind when they come out of this economy and it's on the upturn. They have to play catch up where they should be ahead of their competition, so that they're constantly generating leads and bringing those into the funnel, so that when things break and people start spending money again, you've already got them captured. They already know you, they trust you, and they're ready to spend with you. But it's like, think of it as a horse race. The bell goes off and everybody breaks from the gate. That's what happens if everybody cuts their marketing. It's a struggle to see who can get ahead, who can, muscle their way to the rail. And instead, you should be kind of loping along the whole time. So one of the ways you can stay ahead of the competition and ensure your future success is to keep the customers you have. Seems like a no-brainer, seems simple. It's not. A lot of times what happens is when an organization is sell-focused and focused on that bottom of funnel, they sell to their customer and then they move on for the next customer and the next kill and the next sale. And it's always that moving forward, trying to get a new sale, a new customer, or resell to the same customers. But how do you keep those customers happy? How do you keep the ones that you have and make sure that they stay long-term customers and become your advocates? Well, I can tell you how to do that. A lot of times, manufacturing organizations, the only customer feedback vehicle that you have is your sales team. So, sometimes sales might say, oh, this customer was really happy. Check out the email they sent me. Oh, this customer was really pissed off. Like, what are we going to do about it? Most small to mid-sized manufacturers don't have an in-house customer service department. So me as a marketer, I, in a way, have become my customer service department for my small to mid-sized manufacturers. When the cost of customer acquisition is higher than the cost of serving existing customers, and that's true, your cost per lead, you can figure out that number if you're using a CRM and you're doing a strategic marketing process. You can figure out what your cost per lead is, and it's usually relatively high. So you want to keep your current customers because the cost of serving them is lower than the cost of acquiring a new one. But feedback is so important. So what I did is I used a tool to get customer feedback, and I turned haters into supporters. There were some very unhappy customers, and we were able to go to them with their feedback, find out what was wrong, fix it, and cater to them and show them that we heard what they had to say and we're going to bend over backwards and do whatever we could to fix things. We use our customers as a SWOT analysis. Talk to them. I mean, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your opportunities? What are your threats? Often what you think they aren't the same as how your customers perceive you. So they may see other opportunities that you don't see. And marketing is the first thing people look at. I mean, you're a consumer. Everybody in manufacturing is still a consumer. So when you make consumer decisions, you're making decisions based on marketing, based on what that company has showed you about their brand, how they've built a relationship with you, how they've gotten you to trust them. So you should make it more effective, optimize it, Lean Six Sigma that marketing process to heck. And so that's really how I wanted to end this presentation, by focusing on customer service. And so in summary, you heard what Rich, Matt, and I had to say and share. We talked about operational improvement and investments. We talked about cost procurement and budgeting, reducing waste and improving efficiencies by many, many different methods, and keeping track of what's working in your marketing and maybe what you need to do different, but always make sure to focus on that customer. So if you like what you heard today, this was really our first webinar in the series, the Manufacturer's Efficiency webinar series. And we are going to be doing a monthly webinar. This first one was to introduce all three of us so you could get to know us. Then in future webinars, we're each going to be doing a little deeper dive on a particular subject that's an area of expertise for each of us. So you can see Matt talk on November 20th at 11:30 a.m. It's going to be about a half-hour webinar on change management. Rich will be December 18th at 11:30 a.m., and that's Eastern Standard Time. Those are EST times. Rich will be speaking about shipping expenses. Oh boy, that's a timely one considering what's going on with the longshoremen, right? And in January, I'm going to be talking about January 15th, why manufacturers need marketing, and kind of what you need. What is, marketing for manufacturers is a very unique and different thing than all other B2B marketing or B2C marketing. So I'm going to give some tips and tricks that might help you get ahead of your competition. And we'd like to thank you so much again for watching this presentation. We hope you join us. Please mark your dates and join us again in the future. We'll be announcing that through social media. You can follow us on LinkedIn. I also will be emailing anybody in my CRM and reminding them, and Rich and Matt will do the same. Here's our QR codes. If you scan any of those, you can get to our websites. And you can follow us on social media or reach out to any of us. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those for you. So have a great day, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, everyone.